Let me make one thing clear. This theory that the universe, after having reached an extremity of rarefaction, will be condensed again has never convinced me. And yet many of us are counting only on that. Continually making plans for the time when we'll all be back there again. All at one point. It was in this tiny point where I met her. I had fallen in love. Back at the beginning, all at one point, you could say we were packed like sardines. However, the concept of sardines, the oceans they'd swim in, even the oxygen, hydrogen, carbon, and nitrogen that make up those small silver fish, these were all mere figments of the dreams that only those with more wandering minds would entertain. In the complete darkness, I could still remember her. Finko. She pushed her hair behind her ear when she laughed. We were all together with Finko. She was all a part of us. And we were all simultaneously nothing. I would go on many walks with Finko. She would point out atoms to me and we would make bets on what they would become. That carbon would be a French diplomat assassinated in 1897. The cluster of neon floating past would be later trapped in the neon open sign of a Chinese restaurant on Canal Street. She would contemplate the blackness and talk to herself with faint bursts of laughter, thinking not so much of how she was made, but of how from her present formlessness she would be transformed into one of the infinite possible forms, still remaining herself. I didn't imagine the forms that she might assume, but I imagined the special quality that, in taking them, she would give to those forms. Waking or sleeping, she abandoned herself to dreams. In the evenings, she would always tell us all that if only she had room, she would make the most fabulous tagliatelle for us all. And I would think of the space that her freckled arms would occupy, her bosom leaning over the great mound of flour and eggs that cluttered the whiteboard, and the flour she would sprinkle to keep the dough from sticking, and the wheat for the flour, and the fields to raise the wheat, and the mountains from which the water would run to irrigate those fields, and the space it would take for the sun to arrive with its rays. Of the quantities and stars and galaxies and galactic masses in flight through space which would be needed to hold suspended every galaxy, every nebula, every sun, every planet. She would tell me, just you wait. Wait till I have the space to make you some tagliatelle. I never truly understood what exactly we were waiting for. Perhaps I was less receptive than her, ignoring the signs of what was to come. Matter began buzzing about, quite frenzied in its urge to become something larger. So as Finko and I lay together, hand in hand, that's when the change took place. The universe began its rapid effusion into what we now call space. And then she was gone. As I witnessed the forming of solar systems, the creation and destruction of life, I simply waited for this to pass. As the universe solidified, she was thrusted farther and farther away from me. I've spent my years as many things. Living in the depths of the sea, I slowly developed eyes, and legs, and lungs. The moon began to drift farther and farther away, only reaffirming my worst fears. She was gone. Perhaps she too was looking at another moon, thinking the same thing about me. And so now, after 500 million years have gone by, I look around and I see her in a Dutch girl on the beach with a boy wearing a gold chain around his neck. I'm almost sure it's her. Until I see her again in the way a bee pollinates a flower. Then moments later I suspect that instead she's an anchovy. For a moment I recognize her in a female gull. I'm almost sure it's her. And as I live my many lives, seeing her with all these different eyes, I see her in all these people and things. Putting her hair behind her ear and telling me, "Oh, if I only had space to make you some tagliatelle."